What's going on, everybody? This is Matthew Allen, writer and director of N Load Reclamation, Season 1. And this is the audio commentary for Episode 1, titled The Request. Pretty weak title. Originally, this was not planned to be an episodic series. It was written as a full-length motion picture. But I made the decision to release it online episodically, primarily based on the fact that by the time I was done editing it, everybody who had been involved, cast and crew, was all spread out across the country, and that was the easiest way for them to see it. And I figured doing weekly episodic releases would be a lot easier than releasing a 2.5-hour movie online in its entirety. So this scene is shot on the roof of the Yellowhead Inn Hotel in Edmonton. It was a miserable day. You can see that it had been raining. It was actually raining on and off between takes. This is my little brother Byron. Came up for the day specifically to shoot this scene. This was the only day he had on set that he was on camera, actually. He did come a little later on some scenes that were filmed in Calgary, but he was all behind the scenes in there. And there is our makeup artist, Crystal Brasco, playing Lilith. One of the more eviler characters I've written. Crystal's definitely got the look down. I will say that. Playing an evil bitch. Came pretty nasty. Easily for her.
If I give it to you, you're just gonna kill me.
I'm going to say right up front, Byron is probably one of the strongest actors. And I'm not saying that because I am his brother. There's no bias going on here, but being the only one out of the entire cast that actually has performing arts training. Well, that's not true. I suppose there is one more person. But the most recent and frequent performing arts training, he's pretty good. It's too bad that his role was as small as it was. There was the first look at Crystal's makeup. Or, well, not the first look, but the first time I'm going to say anything about it. Now we're going to have a horrible sound effect here. There it is. That sounds like a knife being thrown, right? Some more special effects. Cardboard, fake blood goes a long way. Very windy. Very windy day, very wet, and now he's even wetter. That shot, unfortunately, he did have to do a few times, so he got soaking wet. And about an hour after that shot finished, he was on a bus back to Calgary. Very quick shoot day. Oh, and here we are in Calgary, where every single other film I have ever created has been filmed. I figured this would be a nice throwback to all those movies with these guys that I had made before. Set the opening of the movie / now series in Calgary. Chris Byers, another man I had drama class with in high school. Stayed in contact. Pretty good guy. Ryan McTavish, been in every movie I have ever made. Had to have him in this, it just wouldn't have been the same without him. Now this scene was actually, originally, none of this was going on. The scene was scripted as a car chase scene, but due to time constraints and the fact that we were on a tight schedule while we were in Calgary filming, it just didn't come together. And I actually wrote this scene the night before we filmed it. So that's a pretty big testament to what these guys are capable of doing on the spot. You know, nobody's a professional actor, but everybody did great and went above and beyond any expectations I could have had of them. And now we're about to see myself and Mike Warman, the other half of Lock and Load. There have been 3 movies before this, which a handful of people probably know, and nobody else does. I knew I had to have Mike in it as well. I mean, he's another... these 3 other characters, Chris, Mike there, and Ryan, the guy in the house, all live in Calgary. Well, Mike lives in Cochrane, but they all live down there, and I reside in Edmonton now, so it's very hard to line up shooting schedules in order to do this. So It was another tight shoot day.
Where's the money? I want to see the money.
Ominous walk up.
Take it easy. So I guess it's safe to assume that you're a Christian?
Mm.
Yeah. What of it? Just wanted to confirm it. Do you have the item? I do. Do you have the money?
It might have been a tight shooting day, but it was still one of the most fun days on set with these three. Just, being on set and laughing and screwing up and having a good time. Lots of things that obviously can be seen on the blooper reel.
What did I hire you for?
I'm thoroughly impressed with Ryan's performance in this scene, solely based on the fact that him having been in all our previous stuff, he's a very, I don't know how to say it. He's a very,
Next time I get to be Anderson. Because Smith
he's not an actor. Let's just put it that way. I mean, he's not an actor. That's not what the guy does. It's not what he wants to do. But he's, rise to the occasion on every film that I've made. Any request I've made of him, he's done. And he's always been the one that, he's the first one to crack up. He's, he's one of those people that realizes he's on camera, and any line, obviously the lines that I've written are not the greatest, but he will be one of the first people to crack up. And I kind of assumed going into this, that's, I'm going to have a ton of Ryan bloopers. And unfortunately on that expectation, it actually didn't happen. He nailed it. This was one of the smoothest shoots for him when it came to having bloopers.
still have it, right? Yes. Where is it? Give it up, man. You're clearly outgunned here. Okay, I already sold it. Jesus. All right, well, give me the cash.
Again, not the opening that I had originally intended, but the dialogue and the banter between these characters, I think it worked well enough to establish what was going on. The whole purpose was just to show where Tony Wallman and Mike Temple were at, since it had been chronologically and literally 10 years almost since we had filmed a Lock and Load movie together. Lock and Load 3 was filmed in the summer of 2003. So while we had done a couple projects since then, as you get older, obviously, doing an independent movie where everybody's working for free and just doing it for fun, it becomes harder to schedule that. And so coming back, doing what was, originally Lock and Load 4, eventually I gave it the subtitle and became the series, yada, yada, yada.
Or if you run, we'll find you, and I can promise you that this conversation.
I knew that I wanted to just establish where Mike and Tony were. Now, for those of you who've seen the previous Lock and Load movies, I'm pulling a bit of a Robert Rodriguez here and casting actors that have played other characters in the same storyline. And actually, both Ryan's character and Chris's character met their timely demise in Lock and Load 3. But we'll pretend that doesn't matter. We're pulling a Cheech Marin here. And unfortunately, this is the only episode that these two appear in, as majority of production was done north of Calgary and Edmonton and surrounding areas. A little bit more banter here. Let's try to establish some story in a Lock and Load movie. And I've always kind of, the Lock and Load movies they're just fun, right? We're going out, we're acting like idiots, we're attempting to make an action movie, whatever. My whole purpose of making movies has just been to have fun, and the Lock and Load movies have provided that. You go through my portfolio of films, you got Story of the Century that is, very personal, very, I don't want to say dark, but sad. I mean, it's a depressing story. It was still fun to film, obviously, but wasn't nearly as, let loose fun as the Lock and Load films are. And then you just did the 6 Months Flat movies, which obviously are just our attempts at all-out comedy, well, at least in terms of the second movie.
Shut up, or I'm gonna finish what I started 10 years ago, and I'll put two in your head. I take that serious if you had any conviction in your voice.
So my attempt here was, right off the bat, let's try to infuse a bit more actual story elements and character development into Lock and Load. I feel like we had way too much story and character development that dragged the production on when it came to a film like Story of the Century. And Lock and Load was just kind of silly, very by the book, action-y. So I wanted to attempt to combine, the story element, the character development with the just mindless action movie A to B's. And that was my attempt at doing that. Tony has a problem killing people. He doesn't like doing it. Maybe he probably shouldn't be a hitman, a gun for hire, if he doesn't like killing people. I gotta imagine that would put a bit of a cramp in your style. Every time I watch something that I filmed, the more I watch it, the more I realize that I wish I had done this differently. I wish I had done that differently. And I mean, obviously, I have the ability to go back and do that if I so desired. But I like to move forward and work on new things. As an example, there, that the Green Day song, I would like to, either omitted it altogether because I don't really think it fits the scene, or have it cut out at least a little sooner. I feel that's a little choppy coming into this take with this ominous music playing. So I'd mentioned that there was another day that Byron was on set. This is that day. Still in Calgary here. Chronologically nowhere near that first rooftop scene. This shot here of me coming around the corner and scanning my surroundings. Byron made me do that probably about 10 times. He wasn't satisfied with the way a professional gunman was entering the house and being cautious. And, why was he telling me what to do? Honestly, he has a better understanding of that. He's been the tactical brother. He's, done a lot of research into guns. He's the paintball guy, the airsoft guy, and the studying of all this stuff. And probably the only resource I had on hand that would know anything about it. So took his advice, and like I said, 10 takes to get into the house. Yeah, here we go. This is Lisa Kitteringham. This would be the other person that I had mentioned that has had some performing arts training outside of the rest of the cast, and it shines through here. Not, again, my writing doesn't do her any sort of justification, but she was the first person I had actually contacted when I had decided that I wanted to write Lock and Load 4, and I sat down and talked with her. She lives in Toronto. She moved out there. Oh man, I can't even remember now. Racking my brain. 2000 and... No, it was after that. It doesn't matter. Regardless, won't bore you with that. Lives in Toronto now. Her family still lives in Calgary. And so the previous Christmas, our schedules had lined up, and we both found ourselves in Calgary, and went over a cup of coffee and presented the idea of Lock and Load 4 to her. And I knew right off the top of the bat, like I said, I wanted to go back and visit characters and actors that I'd worked with in the past, since it had been so long since we had filmed before. And I knew I wanted to bring her character back. Now, her character was last seen in Lock and Load 2, which was 2001. And at the time, of course, in real life, we were dating. So, my imagination, let's really roll with things and change it up. I'll have our characters date. I know, super original. So anyways, and then it was established in Lock and Load 3 that these two characters had broken up and gone their separate ways. And which they, we discuss here for a bit on the deck. And so I knew I wanted to bring her back because to me, she was a familiar character, and still, we keep in touch. We're pretty good friends. And I hadn't actually had a scene with her in a movie since 2003 in 6 Months Flat 1. She was in Story of the Century, but her scene was with Mike exclusively, not myself. I was all behind the camera. So I thought it'd be fun for us to get on camera again together and see how we did. I think we did pretty well here, all things considered. Another windy-ass day outside. You don't have a dead cat for your microphone. Kind of adds some complications to your shoot, but scene turned out all right. And here we go. Let's introduce a brand new character that was never mentioned before in the form of Amber's cousin, Kate Belmont. Bleeding Heart. Won't be seeing her for a couple episodes.
But since the mood isn't exactly that serious right now, I'm going to correct you and say, when you dump me. Tony, I'm just saying.
There you go.
She was around a lot when we broke up, and obviously knows the reasons that I dumped.
Again, like I say, my writing doesn't do this girl any sort of justification.
All the reasons that you used as an excuse to break up with me, them being the violent...
But, given the weak writing that I believe myself, I mean, everyone's their own worst critic, but, again, she, went above and beyond, did the best that she could do with those lines. Quite impressed with her. Another one of this was actually the very first day of filming of anything. This was day one. I had written the script, done some rehearsals up in Edmonton with a few of the other actors, but didn't get everything in line to be able to actually start production. And when that happened, just so happened that this was the time that Lisa was in Calgary, so I had to get my ass down there and filmed it in about, I don't know, 4 hours.
There, I have the address.
Really? It seems a little bit much to be a joke.
I don't know. All I know is that my cousin has been.
We won't be seeing her character again until the very last episode of season 1, and even then it's just a cameo appearance. However, you know,
Said he would leave a spare key under it.
great actress, great all-around person. Like I say, we're all grown up now, and it's hard to line schedules up, especially when a person lives as far away as Toronto to Calgary. But I would love to be able to work with her at least once more time, at the bare minimum. All these people, it's maybe a bit of nostalgia or just, bias towards my friends. But some of the most fun days come out of working with the people that I have worked with before.
Grabbing attention, and I'm completely wasting my time. I mean, believe it or not, I got a life here, and I got things to do.
So the first episode clocks in at about 17 minutes, and my own personal opinion, I didn't think that was quite long enough, but this made the most sense to me where to make the first cliffhanger. And yeah, never make a promise you can't keep, buddy. So, all right, well, that was episode 1 of Lock and Load Reclamation. And the first audio commentary. We will see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.